Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, y'all. Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, Trump's ultimatum deadline is tomorrow. So he's making the claim that if Iran don't meet his ultimatum, he is going to destroy the whole country, which is BS. You can't even destroy them right now. We know Donald Trump is full of crap. If you could destroy them and you had the ability to do it, we would have seen it by now. We haven't seen it because you don't have the ability to do it. And the biggest indicator, running the military off of their base. Okay, that says a lot right there. But this is what he's claiming. And the deadline is tomorrow. Iran, they're not bulging. He made the ultimatum and they reject his ultimatum. And they said they are not concerned about it. And if he does try to do anything, they are ready. And I'm sure they are. They've been ready the entire time. So we shall see. The last time he backed off and threw some extra days in there, he was being the usual taco that he always is. And we'll see. We'll see if he finally makes good. He done changed his mind a multitude of times, but we'll see if he'll do it this time around. So y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Okay, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
He rejected Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal. And now the world is asking one question. What happens next? Trump has issued a chilling warning, calling Tuesday a final deadline and declaring that for Iran, it could feel like a day from hell. He emphasized the strength of the American military and made it clear an attack is not just possible, it's inevitable. But Iran didn't stay silent. They presented 10 strict conditions for any ceasefire. First, they demand a permanent ceasefire, not a temporary 45-day pause. Second, they want the Strait of Hormuz turned into a secure, regulated passage. And most importantly, Iran insists that all damages caused must be paid by the United States and Israel. Now think about it. Would America ever agree to this? Highly unlikely. Which means, in reality, Iran has already rejected the deal. Meanwhile, global markets are reacting. Oil prices, which briefly dropped, are rising again after Trump's renewed warning. The clock is ticking and only hours remain before this deadline changes everything.
As you know, President Trump has vowed to launch devastating strikes if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. What is Iran's official positions towards such threats?
Iranians are not going to be swayed by such deadlines in defending their country. Such deadlines merely express the criminal intent of those who propose such deadlines. We will not allow the slightest threat to ourselves in defending our country. And our armed forces have shown how they will defend themselves against any aggression. It is up to the international community, the countries of the region, and all member states of the United Nations to stand against this trend, the trend of normalizing crime and lawlessness. Now, Iran, let's remember that Iran is not just defending the Iranian people. Iran is defending an order based on international law.
For several days, Trump has threatened to commit war crimes against the Iranian people if the regime, who's unelected and that the people don't control, doesn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And we have this right here that came out recently, just a few hours ago. Apparently, they're trying desperately to reach the regime in order to negotiate a settlement. And they're basically saying, no, why would we? You just blew up our last negotiator. And then you have this, Trump saying he's moving the deadline that was supposed to be tomorrow morning super early to Tuesday. Threaten, back off, threaten, back off. It's dangerous. He's clearly unhinged. This is the worst negotiating style ever. Anytime you make a threat, you put yourself in a box. And if you don't carry it out, you look worse than if you never made the threat. Your deterrence is gone. Art of the deal.
Massive defeat for Donald Trump, who just got exposed both by Iran and reporters in the U.S. after Donald Trump attempted another ceasefire with Iran. He wanted a 45-day ceasefire. Iran swiftly rejected said proposal, and they are not allowing Donald Trump to have an off-ramp in this war, despite how desperate the president is to try and get out of this mess that he's created himself. And now Donald Trump is claiming that he never even proposed a ceasefire and that the only one who will make a ceasefire is him. Well, it's Iran that has repeatedly rejected Donald Trump's plea for a stop in fighting. And why would Trump be begging for the fighting to stop? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is closed because Donald Trump started this war. And now Donald Trump is desperately begging Iran to open up this crucial oil passageway that Donald Trump himself forced to close because of this war. It's important to also consider that another reason this report about a 45-day ceasefire may have gotten published last night is so Trump can continue to manipulate the stock market, because Monday morning comes around, Trump says a ceasefire may be on the table, and now he's saying there's no ceasefire. So we'll find out what happens tomorrow, which Trump says is the deadline for Iran. We'll see if Trump blinks and Iran calls his bluff once again.
For some analysis, joining sort of international relations at the London School of Economics. Great to have you here with us on Tier 2 World. So the United States is asking Congress for hundreds of millions of dollars for this war. And obviously, Israeli parliament today approved its biggest ever, largest ever defense budget, over $40 billion. So money talks, Professor, does it not? I mean, from all indications, it seems that both Israel and the United States are preparing for a months-long operation, so-called operation, in the Middle East.
Well, the Trump administration has asked for $200 billion from the Congress for the Iran war. More, so far, the United States has spent about $30 billion in the past 4 weeks. This is what we know, probably much more than that. But they're asking for $200 billion more. So what does this tell you? It tells you that the administration obviously has plans for a long war, as opposed to ending the conflict soon. While President Trump talks about progress made in direct and indirect talks with Iran, he has sent at least 10,000 commandos and special operation forces and army troops to the Middle East, on top of the 40,000 American troops that exist in the area. There are multiple reports in the American media based on leaks from the administration, is that the Trump administration plans for ground operations in Iran for weeks as opposed to days. So my take on it, and the Iranians obviously know the game. The head of the Iranian parliament yesterday, Mr. Mohammad Ghalibaf, said while President Trump talks about diplomacy, he is preparing for an invasion of Iran, and we are ready for the American forces. So the challenge facing Iran today is that obviously the Iranian leaders know that ground forces will be put on Iranian soil soon. The question is, how will Iran respond? Can Iran basically prevent occupation of some of its islands and its territories, what kind of battles we will see in the next few days. But it seems to me, the final point, we are on an escalation ladder as opposed to de-escalation, as President Trump keeps sending conflicting and contradictory signals.
I was going to ask you about that because just last night, President Donald Trump took to social media saying that the talks are going extremely well and a deal could be announced soon. And then a few hours ago, in fact, about 50 minutes ago, President Donald Trump posted again on his social media platform, Truth Social, saying that if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. is going to be attacking energy infrastructure, oil wells across Iran. So on the one hand, he adopts a de-escalatory tone, but within hours, his tone completely shifts. So no one really knows what's going on with President Trump.
Well, even if you know, let's say we know, can you trust the president's words? Does he have any credibility? Does he engage in deception, in falsehood? Will you basically trust Trump's words or the Iranians in terms of negotiations? I think what we have seen in the past year is that President Trump has weaponized diplomacy, has imploded the culture of diplomacy, that American credibility now is almost zero. Hardly anyone believes what President Trump says. But regardless, let's put the questions I mentioned on the table. I think the divide between the American side and the Iranian side is so huge. And that's why, sadly and tragically, we might see more escalation or de-escalation. Because what the United States is asking Iran to do still is to surrender, to submit. The press secretary to the president, Caroline Leavitt, a few days ago said, quote unquote, the American press secretary said, Iran has to concede defeat. Imagine, she wants the Iranian leaders to come out and say, okay, we are defeated. What do you want, Mr. President? And the Iranians have made it very clear that after 4 weeks of tremendous pain and loss, think of the damage that Iran has incurred. Think of how many, its infrastructure, ballistic missiles, its industrial base, its infrastructure, its universities, its steel factories. How do you expect, and of course, not to mention the top leaders, including the supreme leader, how do you expect Iran to surrender? So what Iran wants is basically guarantees that the Americans and the Israelis will not attack Iran again. I have a point I want to mention put on the table. After the meeting in Pakistan yesterday, the foreign ministers of Turkey, of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan, the foreign minister of Pakistan flew to China today. My take on it is that the foreign ministers of the pivotal Middle Eastern states are trying to get Turkey to provide guarantees to Iran that if Iran accepts an endurable peace process or ceasefire, that neither the United States nor Israel will attack Iran. And that's why he went to China right away. So this could provide a glimmer of hope. Will China stand up? Will China provide guarantees to Iran? And I think the spoiler in all of this is Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu really is racing against time to destroy as much as possible of Iran's infrastructure and industrial base before a ceasefire, if and when a ceasefire is called in the US-Israeli war against Iran.
Professor, let's try to think about the developments from Netanyahu's perspective for a second. If, let's assume for a second, if the war ends today, what would it mean for Netanyahu and his political future?
It will be catastrophic for Netanyahu because Netanyahu has promised the Israeli public its regime change. Think of how many statements he has made. We are changing the face of history, that the Iranian regime would collapse like a house of glass, that somehow Israel could really somehow force Iran to submit to its wishes. So if the Iranian regime survives, Netanyahu is going to tell the Israeli public, okay, we've done a lot of distractions. Iran is no longer a threat. But of course, the Israeli public will realize that Netanyahu is playing games as he has been playing games for the last 3 years. I think it's a nightmare for Netanyahu. The worst case scenario for Netanyahu is a ceasefire now, because it really means that he will be exposed in the eyes of the Israeli public, and Iran will remain standing. So, and that's why Netanyahu is really racing against time, ordering the Israeli military to do as much damage as possible, attacking everything, the infrastructure, steel factories, universities. I mean, literally trying to do as much destruction as possible before a ceasefire is called.
President Trump is again threatening to destroy Iran's power plants and other infrastructure if Tehran does not reopen the Strait of Hormuz to shipping traffic. NPR's Deep Parvez reports the president is giving Iran until tomorrow night to comply.
Iran is hitting back after President Trump posted an expletive-laden message on social media ordering Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. If they don't comply, he vowed to destroy more of Iran's bridges and power plants. The official X account for Iran's permanent mission to the United Nations responded that Trump, quote, seeks to drag the region into an endless war. It added that his threat to target civilian infrastructure showed an intent to commit a war crime and urged immediate international intervention. Mehdi Tabatabai, Deputy for Communications and Information in Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian's office, posted on X that President Trump had, quote, resorted to obscenities and nonsense out of sheer desperation and anger. He went on to use similarly insulting language, saying that the strait would open when Iran had been compensated for the cost of this war. Deep Parvez, NPR News, Van, Turkey.
I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News. For more of today's news, be sure to like and follow us or check out NPR News Now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's very clear to me right now that Donald Trump is so desperate that he might actually surrender and give in to the Iranians. A source now quoted a U.S. official working for the Trump administration said that they have given Iran several proposals in the recent days. So far, the Iranians haven't accepted them, but let me be very clear. If you are on the winning side, you don't give proposal, okay? If you're on the losing side, then you ask for mercy and give proposal and beg for options out. And the Iranians know they are now bargaining from a position of strength and they are not giving in. The Iranians are very clear. They want stopping of all attacks on them, stopping of all assassination, stopping of future attacks and assassinations, repatriations for all war damages, lifting of all sanctions, and stopping all wars against their allies in the region. It is very unthinkable that you can accept all of them. So the Iranians are holding back and say, you know, if you don't want, we keep on fighting. The Iranians have one nuclear weapon. They have the control over the Straits of Hormuz. Why is the control over the Straits of Hormuz so deadly? Well, the Straits of Hormuz, once choked, which what the Iranians are doing right now, will drive the oil prices higher, and oil prices now hitting over $110 and set to go even higher, and that will set world inflation. World inflation will eventually flow to Americans. The Americans will then get angry and vote the Republican out in the midterm elections. Inflation is creeping up now, and Trump do not have time. He cannot wait until November, then resolve this issue. Because once inflation goes up, he will stays high and you will bite the voters all the way till November. So he's desperate and he wants a way out now. So it's my opinion that eventually he would have to surrender. While surrendering means giving in a lot of terms to the Iranians so that he will have a ceasefire and let the oil trade continue to flow in the Straits of Hormuz. This is a breaking news, so remember to hit subscribe as I bring you breaking and latest news that has implications to the financial market, the stock market. So I'll see you very quickly again.
All right, you had to have messed up really badly to get a headline like this as the president of the United States. But the headline that we just got is that Iran rejected a temporary ceasefire deal from the United States.
Of course, the United States has the military advantage. We even should have the economic advantage, but Iran has found a way to wage asymmetric warfare in such an efficient fashion against the Trump administration in particular. Prior administrations have avoided this exact scenario because we war gamed it out in the 2010s and 2015, 2016. We ran war games about what would happen if we started this kind of war with Iran, and many times it ended with the Strait of Hormuz being used as a tool to gain regional power. There are articles about this in the New York Times about the war games that were run. Apparently, Donald Trump didn't read that because his only briefings are repeated striking videos. But the headline that we got is breaking. Iran has rejected a temporary ceasefire proposal. Instead, it has formulated a response to the U.S. demands to end the war, according to Reuters. Iran's foreign ministry says they will announce their response to the U.S. 15-point plan when necessary. There was a headline the other day that said something like, Trump ready to wind down war, Iran ready to continue for 6 more months. Those two things, that juxtaposition side by side, shows the strategy. Trump is held liable by the American people. Democracy exists. He's been voted out before. Republicans are resigning, retiring, losing their seats. Marjorie left. Others are done with politics. And Donald Trump knows what's coming. Meanwhile, in Iran, they don't have democratic elections. They're not really held accountable, and they're okay with inflicting maximum damage. So Donald Trump's negotiations have been absolutely toothless thus far. He's changed the timeline over and over, and now he's straight up threatening war crimes. He's not threatening military infrastructure. He's not threatening military bridges or military plants. No. He's just saying bridges, power plants, desalination plants. We will target the energy infrastructure of Iran, saying he's going to commit war crimes. The regime really doesn't give a shit if their people get hurt. That is a fundamental fact about Iran. But drop a like if you appreciate these videos. Make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed if you appreciate all of the work we do. Genuinely, 2026 has been great because of you all. We've done a lot of great debates on CNN with other platforms. So we've traveled around a lot and done panels, done meetings, and made sure we've done breaking news videos every day.
Okay. All right, y'all. The bottom line is I have yet to see Donald Trump keep his word. Do I think they would possibly try to nuke Iran? Yeah, because they can't beat them. Yeah, because they can't beat them. But like I said, I don't think this would be like Pearl Harbor, where the Japanese were winning and then they dropped the hydrogen bomb and everything ended. I think if they did try to nuke Iran, somebody's going to nuke, especially if Israel do it, somebody's going to nuke them. That's what I believe. It could be China, it could be Russia, but somebody is going to get them. I don't think it's going to go unanswered. That's what I'm saying. If they do attempt to nuke Iran, it won't go unanswered. So that's my opinion. There's a lot of people that believe that Netanyahu is preparing to do that to Iran. But like I said, I don't believe that's going to go unanswered like Israel think it will. And even Donald Trump probably believed it would end everything. I think he is sadly mistaken. Plus, I think the world would retaliate on America for that as well. Number one, you started an illegal war. You started a war, and then you're going to nuke the people that did absolutely nothing to you. Yeah, I don't think the world is going to accept that. There would be heavy retaliation on America. I think it would be financial. I think it would be militarily. And I don't think America would get away with it scot clean. I think if they nuke Iran, they're going to complete the rest of these countries are going to completely take America down. They're going to take the American dollar all the way down. They're going to take the financial system out. and it's going to be the end of America. For real. And I think it will be accelerated. So, y'all, we shall see what happens at 8 p.m. tomorrow if Donald Trump's going to go in there and try to hit their power plant and more infrastructure, or Iran is going to be ready to intercept. You know, again, some people think ground troops will possibly go in there tomorrow. You know, we shall see. But I think either way, Iran is going to be ready. I really do. I think they will be ready. Yeah, plus you got to look at the fallout in that region. You can't contain the nuclear fallout. So, what about the neighboring countries next to Iran? They're going to get hit with all of that nuclear fallout. Plus, that stuff is going to travel around the world. It's going to impact everybody. You can't contain that. So, y'all, we'll definitely come back together tomorrow on all different topics. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Mr. Soulful, for the super sticker. I deeply appreciate your support for my channel. So, y'all, have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow. Shalom, family.